You already know what it is. It's me, Tri-Town Tory, coming to you live from the Northwest. And this is the Tory Talk Podcast with a special edition version of Tory Talk Podcast for you. Today is my birthday, March 10th. I was born in 88, so that makes me 33. Been around the block a couple of times, so I have a lot of experience in what I talk about, and I don't like to talk about a lot of things that I don't know about. Today I wanted to come and say hi to all my listeners and say I appreciate everybody who's been with me on this journey, listening to these podcasts that I've been dropping. And I want you guys to know something. It's because of you that I'm able to actually take this next chapter in my life. I keep my eye on the big prize and the big picture always. And with that being said, it's very important to know that everything in my life has to mean something. So if you see me doing something, just know that I put my full force and effort into such things. Because time is of the essence. We are creating a culture. We are adding to the culture that we have in the Northwest, in the 509. In my region, we need representation. And that's exactly the reason why I hopped off the porch, so to speak. So I do a special thing with my podcast where I don't limit it to people who are talented in the arts or have a specific job which entitles them to all sorts of information that they can speak on. But I like to find the podcast energy in any conversation that I have. And the reason being is because I believe that we all can contribute to each other's life, whether it's information, whether it's stories, with morals and meanings. I think that those kind of conversations really lead to something bigger and better. And I know that I've already experienced some of those things just with the first couple episodes that I've released. I've had people come up to me and tell me, I like this podcast because when you guys were talking about this, it made me think about that. And now I'm going to do this. Those kind of things really make me excited because it lets me know that we're doing something of substance. When I have people come up to me and tell me like, whoa, I didn't think you were going to do a podcast, but now you're doing it. I think I want to try to do a podcast. When I can give them the information that got me off the ground and just leave them with that, I know that I have made that conversation in that room better. And that's what I like to preach. I like to preach positivity, and I like to preach sharing of information. I know that back in the day, there used to be a gatekeeper sort of mentality when it came to anything that could lead you to success, money, the favorable things in life. And it bottlenecked the situation where only the cream of the crop was able to get through. And I don't believe that that's how things should be. I actually think that that's backwards. In my idea, the ideal future is when everybody has the opportunity to be successful. Now, when they choose not to be, that's on them. But when I mean opportunity, I mean when money is no longer a thing. When money isn't a thing that holds you back, that is what I call freedom. And right now we're living in an era where you have to have some sort of money in order to even be on the playing field. And without being on the playing field, you can't really make an effect on anything. So you're just a step above word of mouth. And even then, word of mouth is the most powerful tool that there is, because if you can convince somebody in person to like or support something, that's going to travel a lot further than if you do it online. The good thing for me, good thing for us, that a lot of us have figured out that you have to do a combination of both. And with that being said, I think that I'm loving the results of the first episodes that we've released, and I want to continue to move in that direction. Yes, it's going to be very centric on the arts, music, things of that nature, because that's my comfort zone. I grew up as a kid who listened to music nonstop. In my household, it was an everyday thing. I got memories of me bumping old school West Coast, Snoop Dogg, Cypress Hill, Insane in the Membrane, like kindergarten age, younger than kindergarten age. I'm talking 2, 3, 4 years old, getting into the vibes. And that's because my mom, my aunties, my dad, everybody listened to hip hop. And I come from a full Mexican background. So as you can see, in the early 90s, the culture was really having an effect on all people of color, not just African Americans. So I was born into this music. I was born into this life. It's subconsciously in my soul. If you cut me in half, hip hop would spill out in my DNA. That's just how it is. I love it. It saved me on so many different occasions. It gave birth to my confidence. It put me in rooms that I would never be able to be in. It took me to cities that I'd never be able to see. It's really my steroids and my robotic enhancements, if you will, what hip hop has done for me in my life. Because I wouldn't be the whole man that I am today if I didn't have my experiences due to the music world and the arts world. But even I know that you can only take things so far with the playground that you're given. So my whole mentality is to push the boundaries of what we consider to be music in the Northwest and continue to push it to include other genres, because when you start to collaborate these artists from different worlds, then you start to really make history in my mind. And what I mean by that is the future is hybrid. When you take two ideas that are not necessarily connected and you fuse them together to create a new product, you are a game changer. You just created a new door. And that's the way I look at this hip hop stuff. I think that hip hop is such a strong derivative that you can add it to anything and create a product. Now, you have to be very careful when you do such things, and you have to do it with integrity, because you don't want to be a sellout. You don't want to be considered somebody who's just using the art to get a dollar. That's something that we frown upon. That's something that we do not support. If you hear the term culture vulture, you'll know right away what we are referring to. I've put 10,000 plus hours into this art. If not studying it, learning it, exercising it, practicing it, and then creating products for my brand for it. So I know the ins and outs of everything from the underground to the mainstream, indie, back and forth, this, that, and the 30th. I even know things in other genres because I've always been open-minded and made friends with people who did other sorts of music than just hip-hop. And matter of fact, those people a lot of the times are the most supportive of your music. Because sometimes if you are creating music and another person's creating music that's a little too similar, there might be some subconscious competition energy that might keep you from collaborating with such person. And I don't believe that that's the way that we should do things. I think that if somebody does something that you do, you should meet them halfway and see if you guys can benefit each other's brands or movements. That's really what I believe we need to do locally. I've had a vision of what I wanted to do in the Tri-Cities and in the Northwest, and I have reason to believe that this is the way that the world is going. The internet really put us online and then created a community out of the globe. But I think that the next step in order for us to utilize the power of the internet is to utilize the same strength that we have globally to be connected and utilize it in a more focused, localized way. And then what I mean by that is that everything that we have will no longer necessarily need to be global in order for us to live and maintain wages off of our internet jobs and products and services that we sell online. So what that means is, imagine if you lived in an area that had 250,000 to maybe 500,000 people. And let's say that a good 60% of those people are online. Now you have a base of about 60% of that as a potential client base where you could market your products, your service, this, that, and the 30th. Well, if the strength of the internet was what it is now, but times 10, because everything will become more localized, you're going to start to see record labels, you're going to start to see movie industry companies that are just popping up out of nowhere. And that's what I think is going to happen in the Northwest. I think that there will be a bunch of brands, a bunch of marquee artists, franchise type players that emerge and create ecosystems that can interchange or interlink with each other. Let me give you an example. I run Graveyard Shift. Graveyard Shift is my media company. It's not a record label, but my record label Graveyard Shift is within the media agency. So the idea was for me to create a mecca of art in the Northwest. And the way that I could do it is starting at home. So I started my label, then I started my management service, and I also create a clothing brand. As I continue to add things to my portfolio, what I'm going to do is collaborate with other artists who are doing the same things in the Northwest. This will only amplify and hyper-focus the activity that we have going on in our region. And with such activity, it is only a matter of time before the outside world comes knocking on our door. Those artists who understand this have been working on this for 5 to 10 plus years. Those who have been on the front lines, the first artists who have been working on monetizing on a local level, are going to be the ones who can really thrive and eat off of this era that is coming. So I really encourage anybody who is out there to take the next step and to really, really bet it all on your passion. Because I will tell you one thing that I am sure of. The way that people have confidence in Bitcoin and stock to put endless amounts of dollars into these ideas, you should be able to put the same kind of energy into your name. And what I mean by that is, why would you hesitate to invest money into your brand when you are the one who's in charge of whether it is successful or not? If you feel like you won't be successful, it's because of a couple different reasons. I happen to believe that if you don't have the confidence in yourself to see something through and to sacrifice and really put it all on the line, you won't take that path. You won't even risk it. And that right there is the riskiest way to think, because you really start to close doors on you. And before you know it, you're cementing those doors shut. The older you get, the less flexible that we are to make our dreams come true. And when I say dreams, I know that I get people who roll their eyes and just look at me like, really, dreams? What kind of fairy tale world are you living in? Well, my fairy tale world is the reality, the real world that we live in. And me, I happen to believe that the only way that we will ever get what we need in life is if we walk through life in a lucid 1 foot in, 1 foot out, working on our dream, working on our reality sort of deal. And that's what I've done my whole life. I'm all about self-development, self-help, reflection, motivation. These are the things that I'm about. So I'm constantly looking at my life and seeing what I could have done different to get different results. And that has led me to the place that I'm at now in life. I believe that we all have the potential to do the biggest things in our life if we believe in ourselves. And if we believe in ourselves enough, then we can get everybody to believe in each other. And that's when you have a movement that arises out of nothing. So to take it back to where I started with my path, I was a kid who listened to hip hop uncensored all the time from a young age. And it's because I used to recite the rap songs, and everybody thought it was the cutest thing in the world to see this little kid who was just dropping F-bombs, S-bombs, whatever, to all of these new songs that were coming out. So I got a little bit of a pass when other kids would have probably got their ass whooped. Fast forward to my teenage years. I had a real rough transition from middle school into high school because I was lost. I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I did know one thing, that I was a performer. When I was on a stage, or if I had the spotlight on me in any kind of way, I would produce under pressure. And that right there let me know that I was going to be on a different path than regular people. Because in a time period where people had trouble reading out loud and looking other people in the eyes, I was ready to take on full audiences and display a brand new craft that I was developing. It was going to be a couple of years before I brought it to the main stage, but I knew that this is something that I had to start working on immediately. I was about 12 to 13 years old, in that range, when I believe I got my first chance at actually being a part of this world. And what it was my uncle. Shout out to my uncle. He knows who he is. He got a burner on his computer and he asked me, hey, do you want me to burn you some CDs? Give me a whole list and I'll do it. So what I did was I created 2 lists, one for songs that I liked and one for instrumentals. I gave him both lists, and sure enough, he gave me 4 CDs, 2 with all the songs on them that I wanted, and then 2 with all the instrumentals that I wanted. From that day forward, you couldn't tell me nothing. The first thing that I did whenever I got home was I ran to my room and I shut the door. And I was playing my music and I was working on my craft every single day. I didn't care if I could possibly make it one day with this music. I didn't know what that looked like. I was so new to everything. The only thing that I could think of was, this makes me feel strong. This makes me feel powerful. This makes me feel like a whole human being. Rather than being lost and confused, I was no longer lost and confused. Now I felt like I had an idea. Now I felt like I had a plan. And I kept my eyes open and I saw everything that was moving in my region. I figured everything out. I learned everybody's movements, and I just waited for the right opportunity for me to make an introduction for myself. And it also gave me the perfect amount of time for me to work on my craft, freestyling in my room, to really sharpen my skills. I've always been a quick-witted person who always had a comeback, and I always had to have the last word to say. So naturally, I wanted to become a battle rapper. And that's when the transition from freestyling in my room to freestyling in the cafeteria at school to battling my first opponent came. And I don't want to give too much of this information out there, because I do want to go more in depth with my story on a book or a documentary that I'll put together. But what I will tell you is this. Everything and anything is possible when you stop caring about what anybody thinks, and you stop caring about how you feel initially about what you're about to do, because everybody has hesitations. But you've always heard the hesitation will get you killed. Hesitation will also sit your ass on the bench for a lifetime. So just keep that in mind whenever you want to make a pursuit. And whenever you want to move anything in any direction, just remember that you're the key to any kind of movement. So if you feel any kind of way about it that is negative, it's not going to go. You have to really bet 100% on yourself. You have to believe in yourself when nobody believes in you. You have to treat yourself with respect. You have to move like you are already it. Because when people see how you carry yourself, that is when they are going to start to give you the same energy that you are keeping for yourself. I just want everybody to know that this is all possible. And I just want you to know that everything that you've ever thought about as far as a dream is a reality the minute that you hop off the porch and you take yourself serious. Tory Talk Podcast.